Good morning, everybody. Unfrequented world, and today is a nice, beautiful, sunny day. And I thought, well, I'm going to go for a walk down to the marsh, and I decided to take the A7R3 and the Tamron 15600 G2. And last year, I tried all of the Kenko Pro adapters, 1.4, 2 times, and 3 times teleconverters. I didn't have a lot of luck with them, so I haven't used them on here in a long time. Then I remembered I've updated the firmware on the A7R3 early this spring, and I want to show you guys the results with the 1.4 converter here. I haven't tried the other two yet. I'm actually really impressed. It's working really well just here in the yard. So we're going to take it and go for a walk and look for birds and try it and see if we can get some birds. But I'll show you guys the performance right here in the yard. I'm impressed. It's actually quite improved. Okay, so I'm just pointed out here at a flower basket in the yard. And there is a fair amount of sun, but it's not on my subject here, so. Locked on very good, very fast. So I guess what I'm noticing here is if you're full off, we'll put this manually focused all the way out and we try to focus in, it's going to cycle right all the way through and catch it when it comes back, which is not great. But it's better than it used to be. So I guess once we've achieved focus like here, and then if you move over your close, then it's going to lock on subjects much faster. How's this going to work for birds out in the field? I don't know. Again, we're not in direct sunlight for any of these things, so it might be okay if we have better lighting. But this is much improved over how this lens worked on this camera last year. I want to show you guys two other lenses that I noticed a huge improvement with the A7R3, I think it's firmware 3 update. I had issues with both of these lenses, okay? This lens here is the Sigma 7200. It's the DG HSM stabilized optical stabilizer. This is probably a 2013, 2014 lens. And with the LAE3 adapter on the A7R3, quite often it would hit the end of the focal range and the focus would freeze, and you'd have to spin the manual focus ring to get it to start autofocusing again. It was kind of a pain in the butt, so the LAE3 did not work well with this. And this is the Tamron 90mm, not the newest version, but it is a USD version, probably a 4-year-old, 3 or 4-year-old lens. And then they came out with a new version. This was really slow with the LAEA3 and A7R3 adapter. It would autofocus, but extremely slow. If you put the LAEA4 adapter on the camera, which is for screw drive lenses, this was much faster. This would reach speeds like it would on the old A99 or the A77. So it was really slow with the LAEA3. After the update, I would say it's improved its speed of focus by about half again. So it's almost usable for portraits and everything else with the adapter. I say almost because it's still a touch slower than the older cameras, but you get so much more resolution and everything with the new camera that I'll take a little bit slower focus. But both of these lenses, after the version 3 A7R3 update, much improved. Okay, so what I wanted to show you guys, I cannot do in the field. I cannot film and show you because I need two hands. For this system to work properly, you've got to keep one hand on the manual focus ring. And as soon as you find a bird, you've got to spin the ring to get as close as you can, or just fairly close to focus. Push the shutter button and the autofocus takes over. You've got to be fairly close, like I said earlier. If you're at one end, it's not going to work. It's just going to zoom in and out. But we are achieving focus if I can get close. And up here in this tree, there's a little warbler. And I'm trying to show you guys, I tried to lock on and then hit the bushes behind him to show you that we could lock back on, but I can't do it. And then he flew away. So it's very hard to show you guys. All I can say is the system is working within reason. Better than it ever has before. So with the 1.4 converter. And this lens, you've got to keep in mind, this is not a 2.8 lens. This is I believe it's a 4.5. This is an f5 to 6.3 lens. So the fact that we're getting decent autofocus with the converter here, that's actually good. And again, if we look up here in this tree where that warbler was sitting, it's not in full bright sunlight, so it's quite shady up there. So I'm impressed. This combination is working better than it ever has. All right, way out there, there's some blackbirds in the grass. Let's see if we can, how it's going to focus on them. It's just kind of hitting the grass all around, but it is autofocusing, so. Of course, I haven't taken the time to square up this tripod or anything, so we're going to have to edit these in post. The other thing I wanted to show you guys is that now if you are in expanded flexible spot focusing mode and AFC, whatever subject you are locked on, when you half press the shutter, it will start tracking automatically. Again, you need two hands to do this. I need to have one hand to kind of manually get in close, boom, push the shutter speed halfway down, and it'll find and lock on, even with this teleconverter. I'm trying to show you guys that, and it's not working so far this morning because I'm holding the phone in my hand that I spin the focus wheel with. But I just need another person to help me with this, and I could show you guys. But I'll show you what I got anyway. Okay, so I've turned tracking on. Let's see if we can get this, if I can do this with one hand. See if it'll actually follow this bird here. You gotta be kidding me. You guys ready? Look at that. Sony, you are tracking that tree. Oh no, you blew it. It's a tree. You can't even track a tree. So this side of the trail in the morning is nicely lit up in morning sun. There's lots of chirping sparrows and warblers, hummingbirds, all kinds of stuff, and then a swamp down below with ducks and beavers and things. So hopefully we can find something here to try out this TC and a 15600 combo. Okay, so I'm just waiting. There was a hummingbird here. Story of my life. I'm just waiting. Well, one big empty swamp this morning. Not a water bird to be seen. One lonely woodpecker on the way in. So the tracking with the Sony A7R3 adapter is actually not bad. And today we have to remember we've got the teleconverter on there, which is why it's even more abysmal. But I mean, it is doing it. So what more can we ask? It's actually working. So in a way, I am kind of impressed. Finally, something the Sony can track. Yep, that's a turtle out there. And he's not moving, thank goodness. Okay, so the birds are not cooperating. Nobody watches 20-minute videos. I just wanted to point out that it is working much better than it was before the version 3 update, as well as those other lenses. So if you guys own a bunch of gear that you've already tested and maybe weren't quite satisfied with, try it again with the new firmware update. It might be worth your time. Is this 150 to 600 G2 Tamron going to compete with the new Sony 200-600 FE lens? No, it's not. But it's not costing me $2,500 Canadian or whatever the new lens is going to cost me. So if you already own one of these lenses, then it might be worth the effort to put the new firmware on and retry the lens. For most of us, it all comes down to technique. If you've been using crummy old gear for 25 years, even the best of gear from 15 years ago was nothing like today's gear. You're probably pretty good at manually focusing, and this autofocus with the TC is just a bonus, right? So That's all I'm saying, guys. It's going to come down to technique and personal preference. If you can drop $3,000 to get the newest lens, then yes, it's going to probably perform much better. FE lenses perform much better on the A7R3 than adapted lenses. Always going to be the case. But if you want to save some cash and you own one of these really nice Tamron G2, it's a fantastically sharp lens, guys. I love mine. Then try the new firmware update and retest.